So I beat Control over the weekend, and I want to talk about it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, please leave a comment. Thank you. So, Control was released in 2019, developed by Remedy, same people who made Max Payne and Alan Wake. And I totally noticed that it had Max Payne vibes in it. And that was one of the games that I was comparing it to. Not necessarily because of like the gameplay, but just kind of some of the things that the character was talking to themselves about reminded me of a Max Payne game where it's his dialogue with himself during those games was very similar to this game. And then I've never played Alan Wake, but I heard that it's pretty good. This game I do not think is that great. Like, that may be a hot take, but I beat it over a 2-day period. So it took me about, 12 hours. I think the extra 2 hours that are added on are because in the beginning, they don't really explain kind of how the map works. Like, the yellow means that you can go, that's where that mission is trying to make you, but they don't like put it as like a tab on the actual map. They just like, when you're going through the places that you traveled before at one of those spawn points, you can like see that it's a different color, and then you finally notice. But I was just kind of like wandering around, getting familiar with the mechanics and familiar with the spawn points. So it's similar to a Dark Souls game, I guess, because you have like these meditation points or whatever, like the points that you can fast travel through the spots, and then all the enemies respawn. Not all of them, but they do respawn. Like, I think it's more of like a random generation thing where like if you die, some enemies will be back, but some of them won't. And it's like if you're doing like a mission also, you go and like if you make it partway through the mission and then die and you respawn and then you start back again, like all the enemies that you had killed will be dead, but then you'll be back at the spot that you were at in that mission, which is it's good for that because there are some spots that take you a really long time and there are countless waves of enemies that just keep coming and coming. So like if you die, it's good that they don't make you refight an army of enemies again. I wasn't impressed with the enemy variety. They're all just like, there is a variety in what they can do. Some of them are like floating on chairs, and some of them are like larger enemies that throw bombs at you. Some of them have like missiles that they shoot at you, but they're all just like workers, social workers, or like workers in suits that have been transformed, which, I get it, but like the diversity in the environment made me feel claustrophobic at certain points because it just felt like I was in this building the entire time. Like, there is like a quarry later on where you like go and it's kind of a change of scenery, but it's just dark and black and rocks everywhere, so you're just in a cave. But it's like some of the aspects, I couldn't tell if the game was trying to be a horror game or if it just like was over my head. Like, I got vibes similar to like Stranger Things with some of the stuff, but like I feel like the story was pretty convoluted. Like, it could have been simplified in certain aspects, and like some of the things in the game, like I think they just went over my head, where it was like if you just think about some of the things, there was like a headset, anchor, a television, hotel, maze, FBI building. And it's like, those are just like some key words that I found and I thought about, where it's like, okay, so there's a maze aspect to this place. It's all like in an FBI building, but then you go to a hotel and you constantly have to like click this thing 3 times. Doesn't explain like anything to do with that. And then there's like this crazy janitor like in the beginning who kind of like helps you out, and then you like don't really see him until the end, and then he gives you a radio, like a Walkman, and then like it's just really felt all over the place for me. And then like your brother is not like an enjoyable character. Like the game, it makes you like, it gives you these people, doesn't really elaborate on their stories too much, like it just kind of like explains them, and then like you're just wandering around this endless maze. And like the map is an issue for me too. Like, it shows you where you are, and then it gives you all of the layers of the whole building at once. So like you're walking and you're like, well, I don't understand how this map works, because if I'm on one floor, it doesn't like show me the one floor that I'm on. It shows you all of the layers. So you think it looks like you're almost walking through multiple layers at once. And it just get a little bit confusing. Like you should be able to have different layers and switch through. And like if you're on one floor, you should be able to kind of only see that one floor. So I got kind of Resident Evil vibes, certain aspects of it, but it wasn't like horror either. But it was like, and then I realized that the enemies, you know, respawn also. So it was like, well, it's not really Resident Evil because I'm not fighting for ammunition, because that respawns like pretty quickly. And then I've started using the Force, so I almost got Jedi Fallen Order vibes also. And then like the way she opens like the chest, they like blow up, kind of like Fallen Order. So it just kind of like made me feel like I was playing almost like a Dark Souls-esque game, which I enjoyed, but the environment wasn't something that I really, really liked. I felt claustrophobic in some of the battles where the enemies, you show up and then there's like 5 enemies and you're like, all right, well, so I'm gonna try to take out these 5 enemies quick, and then all of a sudden, and it's in like a small corridor where you're like kind of hiding behind a desk and like throw out, and like they won't follow you in certain spots either. So like you're trying to like usher them into a larger area, but they like won't go there, and then you kill the 5 enemies, and then there'll be more that spawn, and then there'll be more that spawn after that, and then there'll be more that spawn after that. And it's like, I don't understand why there's just like waves of enemies in like a basic area. It's just, it got kind of confusing, because it's like you're planning on doing this, then trying to grab their health real quick, and there are a lot of health drops, and it's not like super difficult. It just got kind of frustrating at some points where it was like they just kept coming, and I'm like, well, I don't get it. All right, whatever. But I'm not trying to like just shit on this game the entire time. The graphics and the art style are beautiful. I don't like the main character. The main character to me wasn't relatable and didn't seem like she wanted to be there. And then she also was super confused the entire time too. And like that doesn't kind of help with my confusion as like the player, where it's like, well, I'm confused too. And it's like, maybe we are just supposed to be confused and it's supposed to be a mindfuck video game, because I got vibes of that. But like my girlfriend was sitting next to me while we were playing it, and she's like, babe, I have no idea what's going on. I was like, me either. Like I genuinely did not know what's going on. I watched a video after I beat it and I still did not know what was going on, where it's like things have been imbued with power, and then there's like 3 entities. One of them's not like actually like an individual, it's just like a corruptive thing, and then the 2 are like actual like individual beings from a different dimension, and it's like they were misidentified as like the same thing, but then they're actually not the same thing. And then at the end, it's not really the end, because she was actually trying to get corrupted by that thing, but then she fought it and didn't end up getting corrupted, and then went to the like, it just ends up being this whole convoluted mess where it's like, I'm sure that there are people who really, really love that type of lore and that type of like diving deep into that and understanding all aspects of it. And I will watch like retrospectives of this. That's part of why I love beating video games, is so I can get a better understanding. I just, on a playthrough, it doesn't do enough to help you and to feed you the information that's necessary in order for you to be motivated to complete the game and feel like you achieved something and had a grand story and adventure. And maybe that's not what they were going for. Like maybe they wanted it to be like a multi-playthrough and you to sink in a lot of extra time trying to understand this, because it is deep. Certain aspects are convoluted. Certain things don't really make sense, and I don't think it's supposed to. It's not like, it is kind of paradoxical, but like you go in and then you defeat this thing and then it's all like super trippy, where it like winds itself back out into the regular building that it was at one point. And so like you're kind of cleaning up this mess the whole time. And then essentially she turns into like a Ghostbuster at the end, where it's like, yeah, okay, you beat the game, but like you need to go out and eradicate all of this stuff. And it's like, yeah, like that's cool that they put the story you finish it, and now you can go out and finish extra stuff if you want to. And the traversal and the Metroidvania elements in it are really nice. I personally don't like wandering around aimlessly, but it does a good job after a certain point of once you figure out how kind of the map works and how the missions kind of work, where you can figure it out. But like at first you're just kind of like, well, it's not telling me anything. So it is sort of like you're wandering around and hoping that you open that right door at that right time and then figure out how to progress the story. But after probably hour 3, it's like, okay, now I really got it. I figured it out, but I wasted like 2 extra hours. So instead I should have been at 3, I was at 5. And then I felt like I was like, oh man, this is going to take me a really long time. But then I kind of figured out how it works, and I just zoomed through it. Not like rushing through the story, but I didn't want to do really any of the side stuff. I wanted to experience this game for the story and for the gameplay elements that it's offering. I really do enjoy the combat. I enjoy the weapons that they have. I enjoy the RPG-esque elements that they have, where you can upgrade your weapons and choose which path you want to go on each weapon, and how it like change, like when you shift it over while you're playing, it like morphs into the other weapon. Like it's really, really cool. And the visual graphical design is beautiful, and they did a lot of time to it. The character isn't that like appealing. Not that that all characters have to be appealing, but I just wasn't really vibing with her vibe, like as a person. Like I just felt like she's like, yeah, nope. It's like, I don't know, man, whatever. But yeah, the enemy waves soundtrack was pretty much non-existent. Phone rang. Pretty much non-existent. Like it was just like ambient music, but then at some points in the game, like there's a maze later on and it's just banging rock music. Like she puts on a headset, and that was like a mission that I would play over and over. Like I would go through that and I would play that. If I wanted a little bit of control in my life, I would go, because you can select the missions after you beat the game. I would do that. I would play that game, that mission. It's super trippy, super crazy. She has all of her powers at that point. I personally wouldn't have wanted her to be able to fly. Like a really big double jump mixed with like a dash. And then as you upgrade your energy, you could do like multiple dashes in the air to kind of cover that flying ability. But like to actually just have her like hover there, like I don't think was really necessary. I do like a flying mechanic because it's not really common in video games. And they did a good job where having you, and you don't just drop to the ground when you run out, you like kind of slowly hover down and you can like jump off of a really high thing. Like, I'm pretty sure I, like, sequence broke at one point in the game because I, like, jumped off of the elevator and I just, like, slowly hovered down. Like, I would drop really far and then I would stop and, like, start hovering. And then I'd drop and then I'd start flying and then, like... So I don't know if that was how I was supposed to, but, it just felt... I had fun playing it, but it's not an amazing video game. I don't think the story was amazing. I don't think the main character was amazing. I don't think the main character's brother was remarkable in any way. I don't think that the NPCs that are in the game that give you quests they stood out as like being unique individuals with, you know, stories of their own. They just felt like nameless people. Like I'm not gonna remember any of their names. The building felt like a maze at some points, where besides the actual maze that's in there, but like it just felt like it was all same stuff. It's like Resident Evil, you go through and you're like in Resident Evil 3, you're in like this hospital, right? And so you're going through and it's like, yeah, that's all the same, but then you're out in the streets and then you're down in the other thing, and it's like this game has certain aspects of that, but it always feels claustrophobic and you're in this building all the time. And I know that's part of the story, like it's the oldest building or whatever they call it, but the game just didn't vibe with me completely. I enjoyed my time with it. I will not replay it, but I will play that mission at some point again with the rock music where she got the headphones on and she goes in and you just wipe out waves of enemies through like this trippy maze that transforms as you go through. So yeah, Control. Thanks for tuning in.